That should draw the attention of the guards. I should hide.
Damn it! What's going on? Is there somebody? Gotta let Fuller know. Better play this.
Avoid. Ano gagawin? So what now? Actually, hindi ko na alam gagawin ko. So, kinakabahan na siya. What will happen to me? Paano ko na actually hindi ko siya gagawin to. Umiikot lang sila. So, do I get out after cycle ng guards? Nakakatakot naman kasi naka-headset pa ako. Pag lumabas ako ngayon kasi ano mangyayari? Makikita ako niyan eh. Biglang kabisaduhin ko yung galaw niya. So, ang gagawin niya, haharap siya dito. So, kailangan lumabas ako on this side while he's looking away. Di ba ako naririnig? While he's looking away. Okay. Crouch. Crouch. Walk. Okay. And then okay. Oh shit. There's somebody here. Okay. Hoy, Percy! Percy. Si Percy nang umulit eh. Okay, so ayan siya. Okay. Nakatalikod lang naman siya, no? Shit.
This way.
Yan, huli ako. Shit. So, paano ako lalabas? Last checkpoint. Okay.
That should draw the attention of the guards. I should hide.
Damn it! What's going on? Is there somebody? Gotta let Fuller know. That he'll blame us.
There's some kind of secret passage na pwede ako makalis from here.
This way.
Kita ako. How do I get out of this?
That should draw the attention of the guards. I should hide.
Damn it! What's going on?
Kita nila ako. So, how do I get out of this thing? Okay, so tago ako dito. Okay, seems to be no guards. The exit is over here. So any guards? Okay, wala. Okay.
Damn.
Oh, siya na yung kumakontrol. Hindi ko na siya nagawa-control. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I think this is progress.
Doctor, is that you?
Francis Sanders.
Don't you worry about the doctor. Right now,
No
he'll
muna
have
ako kape.
plenty to keep him busy with his precious machine. It gives us time to get away. I'll undo you.
Get away? Get away where? I can't go anywhere. It'll find me, like it found me here. You're mistaken about the beast. Don't stay with me, or you'll end up the same way.
Ito na lang. Take my chances. I'll do occultism.
What is the exact nature of the beast you're running away from?
You've got instinct, a sensitivity for the invisible. It puts you in danger. The creature that is pursuing me is not from our world.
After what I've seen so far on this island, I'm ready to believe you.
Don't do that! Do not believe, or you'll end up like us all.
What happened to you, Sanders?
The real culprit is Sarah. Her and her accursed paintings.
You're kidding me. You're talking about Sarah Hawkins.
The one and only. The legendary. There is no artist more enlightened or cursed than Sarah Hawkins.
What can you tell me about the Hawkins?
You should leave before it's too late.
I inspected the scene of the fire, and something is not right. Do you think Charles Hawkins could have killed his wife and faked his own death?
What? No, of course not. He would never have done such a thing. She was the sole purpose of his life.
I don't understand. What's going on this island?
I'm so sorry. That we should never have met.
What are you talking about?
Destiny! It has trapped you. No, don't let it see you, or you won't be able to escape it. Don't look at it. That's how it finds you.
What finds me?
Sarah Hawkins' visitor. The Shambler.
Sanders, pull yourself together.
Without her, it's no longer possible to save me.
What's happening?
Sanders!
Whoa. Okay.
What the hell? I gotta. Okay. This is insane. What killed him?
Wait lang. Gusto ko malaman. Shit, shit, shit. There's a guard. Get out, get out. Close it before you go. Okay, so I wanna figure out some things. Figure out some things first before I go. The game is saved, so I'll end up getting back here anyway. I really want to know some things, man. I want answers. I want answers. I want answers. Doesn't seem to be much here. Okay, we'll just climb up here. Seems sarado doon. Where else to go but here, right? It's not long. Run, run, run. What is that gas? Locked. Holy shit, what is this place?
Damn!
What is that?
The gas! Oh. My head.
Later. We need to move on.
What is this? What's happening? Chapter 6. So what is happening? It's that.
Who goes there? That nightmare again. I need a drink.
Whew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Francis Sanders knew Sarah Hawkins so well that he accused her of being the source of his suffering. The man gouged his eyes out with his own hands and smeared the walls of his cell with esoteric symbols. He seemed to be obsessed with the shambler linked to Sarah Hawkins. He died before my eyes in circumstances I cannot explain. Damn straight. Strictly speaking, I didn't spend much time in the hospital. When I woke up, I was immediately transferred to the cellars of the institute, sort of clandestine asylum where Dr. Fuller carried out his experiments on patients without being troubled. Unknown machines sit beside anatomical drawings that are disturbing, to say the least. I just managed to escape from this place. I did not have such much luck another time. So how is Bradley alive though? Still wanna answer that question. Yan, umaga na. Wala masyado nakakatakot pag umaga. So ito rin lang naman yung mansion last time, di ba? Wala nang pinagkaiba.
No. I want to know what Bradley and Dr. Colden have to say about all this.
Okay. Fine.
You're awake, Mr. Pierce. How do you feel?
Did I sleep long?
The day is only starting. It's fine.
Wala naman talaga.
How's our fugitive? Dr. Fuller hasn't reported your disappearance to the force, but that'll come soon.
Bradley?
Who else would it be?
Mr. Pierce, are you all right? You look like you saw a ghost.
There are things I can't explain.
Tell us. What happened?
What I'm sure of now is that the Hawkins case isn't just an accident.
And what brings you to that conclusion?
The fact that Charles Hawkins survived the fire.
I don't understand. Mr. Hawkins was buried.
That's what he would have you believe.
I have a hard time believing you.
You were there, Bradley. You even opened fire on him.
I'd remember that.
Why would he fake his own death? Do you think he covered up his wife's murder?
That's possible.
Seems hard to swallow. Don't you have anything more concrete, Pierce?
Yun lang.
Bradley, what do you remember?
I don't understand your question.
The night we went into the Hawkins mansion. You don't seem to remember the tunnels and what occurred there.
No memory of going down any tunnel.
Patay tayo dyan.
No, we were in the manor, then,
Then what?
The rest is quite blurry. I don't recall how I came back home.
And then?
I went to visit you at the hospital and called on Marie's help to get you released.
And you don't remember the events of the tunnel?
I don't. Let's talk about something else.
Holy shit. Sige. Hindi ako makakapag-ano nito eh.
Means you two know each other pretty well.
It's a tiny island. Everyone knows everyone. Especially since I'm a police officer and Marie's a doctor.
The chemistry is obvious.
I do seem a little bit stupid, don't I? Anyway, let's get back to the business at hand.
Given the energy he pours into Riverside, I presume it was Fuller's creation.
His father's, to be correct. He was a surgeon on board the Scylla. He founded the hospital in 1904 with funds from the Hawkins family before he died and his son Thomas Fuller took over.
Two families inextricably linked.
Most island families are that way. Captain Fitzroy's father was also a seaman aboard the Scylla.
Powerful families dominating everything.
Yes, and as you could tell, Dr. Fuller is like some crazed emperor.
He wouldn't be happy if he knew we were snooping around.
I know the risks. I don't fear him. Do you wish to know anything else?
Yeah.
Dr. Fuller seems to be leaving a trail of corpses. Not to mention those strange machines, chains, and tools of all kind.
Yes. I've been telling you that Fuller uses his patients as guinea pigs.
What I saw was more akin to torture than medicine.
Do you even hear what you're saying? Dr. Fuller is highly respected.
It's the truth, Ethan. And I'll prove it to you. I'm listening, Mr. Pierce.
I found a file bearing Sarah Hawkins' name in the Institute's basement.
It makes sense. A powerful family like the Hawkins had the means to hide such a disgrace.
But everyone knows the Fullers have been taking care of the Hawkins for at least a generation. And all were aware of Mrs. Hawkins' fragility.
Perhaps, but no one would allow a psychiatric internment.
From what I read in the file, Fuller used her as a subject of his experiments.
Francis Sanders and Sarah Hawkins, subjects of Dr. Fuller. Why those two?
I might know.
I saw people in hoods. They had stolen Mrs. Hawkins' paintings.
Who are you talking about? Why would they do such a thing?
I don't know, but they were a threat. They've taken over the caves under the mansion. They were performing some kind of ritual. One of the entryways was under Charles Hawkins' office.
We suspect Mr. Hawkins of being involved.
My patients believe the old islanders used to worship primitive sea gods. Could they be the focus of the cult?
Am I hearing this right?
So you think me gullible?
No, not at all.
What else did you uncover, Mr. Pierce?
Okay.
I met a Francis Sanders. Do you know him?
Of course, he's a patient. Or was. I haven't seen him since Dr. Fuller had him transferred to the basement.
He knew Sarah Hawkins, and that's what killed him.
What? How did he die?
I'm not sure I can explain it.
Tell me how Mr. Sanders died.
Let's cut to the chase.
I didn't see what, but something was there with us.
Of what do you speak?
Sanders said it was Sarah Hawkins' visitor. He spoke of it like a living being.
Sarah Hawkins? Have I missed something here? This makes no sense. I don't see how it can help crack the Hawkins case.
You really think she's involved? How could she have murdered Mr. Sanders?
Francis Sanders mentioned Mrs. Hawkins just before dying. It's no coincidence.
You know, Francis Sanders was a well-known art collector. I guess you can still pay a visit to his wife, Irene Sanders.
An art collector, you say? That's probably how they met.
If you plan on having dinner at the Sanders household, please spare the widow the tale of her late husband's suffering.
I don't agree. She deserves the truth.
But that truth may be biased. We don't know the bottom of it.
Let's stay prudent. Or better.
He's right. We can't ignore the truth.
But it could drive her mad.
Better madness than ignorance. Very well.
Okay.
I'll go to see Francis's
Let's
widow.
get with madness.
Perhaps I'll find a link between her
Madness
husband's
it is.
death and Sarah Hawkins.
Yep.
Don't end up in the hospital this time.
I'll do my best.
Let's go. in a macabre discovery. Through the cellars of the Riverside Institute, Pierce entered a room that first looks took for a morgue, but the advanced state of decay of the corpses. Nothing could justify the presence of such a charnel house in a hospital. The putrid smell, the total absence of respect for human life, as witnessed by this room, profound by shock Pierce. Profoundly shocked Pierce, costing him some of his sanity. The weirdness of Francis Sanders' death went far beyond anything Pierce had ever seen. Lifted off his feet by an invisible force, the poor man's body was carried into the air before being thrown violently against the bars of his hiding place. Pierce, powerless, watched the limbs break and Sanders' body crumble to the ground. During the long moments of agony, the detective saw nothing that could explain this event, weakened by his wounds and the operation he could remember undergoing. Pierce begins to question his ability to tell the difference between reality and nightmares that haunt him. I have not unlocked one other thing there, unfortunately. What is that? Dr. Fuller. Riverside senior physician. Dr. Fuller reigns as the undisputed master of the Riverside Institute and its cellars, in which he carries out illegal experiments on his patients. I don't know what he has done to me, but I shouldn't be back on my feet so soon after my fall when the tunnels under the Hawkins mansion caved in. This man is dangerous, and I'd swear that he knew more about all this business that he's willing to tell. I'll be talking to his widow. Leave. Okay. Sanders' residence. Okay. Pierce, Colden, and Bradley decided to team up to solve the Hawkins case. Yeah, but new trail to follow. Francis Sanders, an art collector and friend of the painter who died in front of Pierce. The detective goes to his house in order to speak to his widow about the shambler that the unfortunate man mentioned before he died. Winter madness.
What can I do for you, sir?
Mrs. Sanders, I'm a private detective. We must talk about your husband and his ties to Sarah Hawkins. Can I come in?
You may. However, before we go any further, please know that my husband died yesterday.
That is precisely what brings me here.
Cat.
Well, well, look who's here. You know each other.
We met briefly. Time enough to iron out a few matters. The main thing is that we understood one another. The brave detective has a talent for sticking his nose into my business.
I bump into her every time I'm investigating someone's death.
It's a small island, Detective. My island. It's better that it's you bumping into me.
You're investigating Francis' death. Why? Who hired you?
I spoke to Francis before he died. His story suggests a link to a case I'm working on.
Well, since this business has got nothing to do with me, I'll be in your husband's office, Irene. We'll carry on later.
Very well, Miss Baker. This way, Mr. Pierce. And do make yourself comfortable. It would seem that you have much to tell me. May I inquire as to when you had the opportunity to talk to my husband?
Yesterday, I met him at the hospital. He spoke to me about Sarah Hawkins.
Oh, of course he spoke to you about her. That's all he talked about. Sarah Hawkins and her paintings. Please forgive my tone. The fact is that I have not been allowed to see him since he was interned. You, on the other hand, a perfect stranger, were able to see him and even talk with him the day he died. How was he? Were you present when he had this attack? What happened?
Eto na.
He started raving, screaming that a dimensional shambler had found him.
Oh, mercy, that story again. Why have him interned?
That was when he began to convulse and twist with pain. Or terror, it's hard to tell.
I beg your pardon?
I'm not really sure of what I saw, or what I didn't see. But it's best that you weren't there.
I should have been there. What you're telling me is outrageous.
Outrageous.
I need to understand. How could this happen? In a reputed institute? And right before your eyes? Did you not do anything to help him?
With all due respect, Mrs. Sanders, it was you who sent him to this asylum, not me.
How dare you? What was I supposed to do, Detective? Upon seeing such a brilliant mind disintegrate in this way, waking with a start every night with him shrieking in horror, petrified before this accursed painting, unable to look away, until he managed to gouge his eyes out with his own hands. I should have listened to Dr. Fuller, let him intern him months ago. If I am to be condemned, it is because I did not act sooner.
I'm not here to condemn you, Mrs. Sanders.
Oh, I'm tired, Mr. Pierce. I would be grateful if you could tell me what you expect of me, and then leave.
I really don't want to.
I deduce that your husband already mentioned this dimensional shambler.
Well, you can imagine that's all he talked about. It's exhibited at the center of the gallery. No better place for the painting that endowed him with the privilege of such a shameful and miserable end to his life.
Hold on. The shambler is a painting by Sarah Hawkins.
Who else to paint such horrors? Take a look for yourself, if you feel so inclined.
It is my only lead at this stage. I suppose I have nothing to lose.
Then you have paid no heed. For my part, I refuse to set foot in that gallery again. But if you're so eager to see it...
Thank you, Mrs. Sanders. I won't be long. The day the Shambler came into the Sanders' lives.
Photogra next to the Shan. Memorize. Reconstruction. Yeah, why the fuck not? Okay. What is that?
A house of artists. A house of artists.
So what am I supposed to be looking for? Psychology. Okay. Psychology. Ano pa bang iba? Kasi ilalagay ko lahat sa psychology to. Pucha. Okay, I'll place it all on psychology. Validate. Okay.
Francis Sanders and Sarah Hawkins were close. Friends, even?
Friends, even.
A house of artists. Sanders' accession register. He wrote beside the Shambler, "Finally." What did Sarah Hawkins fear so much that she didn't want to sell the painting?
Didn't want to sell the painting. So this is the painting.
He finally won. Was Sanders aware of his imminent doom?
Oh, ito muna. Sige, psychology.
Was she jealous of Sarah Hawkins?
Ano gagawin ko kasi? Ay, ito.
She first refused to sell the painting. How did that make her feel?
Occultism.
The Shambler. I need to see it.
Okay. Okay. The Shambler.
A strange Amerindian pendant.
Amerindian. Yun. Makakita tayo sa occultism. See that she holds Sarah Hawkins responsible for the death of her husband. But what I don't understand about Eileen Sanders is this mix of sadness and insecurity. Looks like she had given up on her husband long before his horrid death in the cellars of the Riverside Institute. Okay. At the Sanders. Cross-checking the information given by Francis Sanders and his widow, it is possible to reconstruct the events that led to the internment of Sanders. Everything points to Sanders and Sarah Hawkins being close linked, at least by the interest. Sorry. Interests of The collector showed in the artist's work, but more probably by a certain friendship, attested to by the repeated refusals of Sarah Hawkins to sell the painting called the Shambler. Against all expectations, she finally gave it away for free. The feelings still shown by Sanders towards Sarah Hawkins are evidently derived from what she considers to be the artist's responsibility. Madness struck Sanders a short time while after he gained possession of the painting. Sleeping pills?
I could use one of those.
What are those? The Whale and the Cod, A Brief History of Darkwater Island by Erwan Greenmount is focused on the past glory of the
Strange. For months, Sarah Hawkins refused to part with her painting, to finally give it away for nothing.
Dear Francis, I beg you to give up all hope of owning this accursed painting. Friendship has any meaning for you, please spare the weight of guilt. I cannot be the architect of your fall. I beg you, my dear friend, forget the shambler. Yours, Sarah Hawkins.
An old diary.
This volume spends some time in Reverend Wickwood's community. His wife expresses her worries about the strange dreams that the Reverend's congregation are having and since their arrival on the island. Some members of the community husbandly began to speak of their vision as a messenger sent by God. She's scared that they will suffer the same fate as the lost tribe. Hindi ko ito mabubuksan. Okay, nabuksan. Key to Sanders Gallery. Okay. Read the book. Malleus Bestiarum. It is a kind of encyclopedia of monstrous and unknown creatures. I'm beginning to believe that they exist. It's called Diary. Malleus Bestiarum, Volume 2. Dimensional Shambler. Comes from a dark and inhospitable dimension where the rarity of food sources keeps it in a state of permanent starvation. This is why it is in a constant state of readiness to travel to other dimensions in order to feed on its inhabitants. Make sure you never weaken the veils of your dimension, otherwise you risk attracting this very dangerous creature. Should this happen, you have just to lay eyes upon it for its being to anchor itself in your dimension and to allow it to rip you open with its claws. Malleus Bestiarum. Men will gather the knowledge through the lines dictated to me by the great old ones, but also in other volumes, the visions that assail me whispers me names and silhouettes of mystical creatures. Soon the Monstrorum, repository of all anatomical, cosmic, and dimensional knowledge. Aha. Cosmic and dimensional knowledge will be seen as the authoritative work. This book, unholy among the most cursed books, will one day be the final rampart between man and the predators that are waiting to devour him, hidden behind the veils of parallel dimensions. What is that? Dissertation on an anatomical question. It is the work of a student in book form. Although the observations are relevant, they lack the expertise of an experienced physician. However, the question asked allows us to imagine new ways of exploring human anatomy. Mukhang wala naman na. Unless...
That's twice you've stepped on my toes, Detective. Try not to make a habit of it.
I've got a lot of bad habits.
Some can be more fatal than others. What have you come looking for in this gallery?
Another painting by Sarah Hawkins. One connected to the horrors I've discovered on this island.
What a surprise. I'm listening.
All's fair in love and war, I suppose.
Not now, sweetheart. I'd like to read this without some snoop looking over my shoulder.
Okay. Ito na po. Kakaalaman na. Game save. Wait lang, inaantok ako eh. So, stop ko na muna dito. Whew.